accomplished Indian chef celebrated for her inventive approach to traditional Indian cuisine. After studying culinary arts in Europe, she returned to India to embark on her culinary journey. Her innovative cooking style and use of locally sourced fresh ingredients have won her numerous accolades and has been a guest judge on MasterChef India. Through her dedication to the craft and authentic style, she inspires a new generation of chefs and food enthusiasts, earning her prominent place in the culinary world. As a content curator, she makes exotic and fun dishes accessible and easy to make for a younger generation. Be it a jaggery cake, a yummy matar paratha, or a bowl of classic pumpkin soup, she makes cooking feel easy and fun. And it's so good to have an iconic figure and inspiration to aspiring chefs everywhere. Thank you, Chef,
Thank you. I'm very
for
humbled.
joining
I'm
us.
honestly very, very humbled by that introduction. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this session today.
In this entire series, I think you're the first one who focuses on patisserie as well. So I'm really looking forward to
So
this
I'll tell you
conversation.
what, I am a trained patisserie chef, but I end up enjoying both patisserie and cuisine, both of it as much.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this conversation. And what we do is we usually have students send us these questions from across, and we compile them, and then have them. We just shoot them
Okay.
to the chefs.
We'll put you on the
So
fire
we've
now.
done that. Yeah, but I look forward. And the first question, which is something that we usually start with, and everybody asks, is going back to how this entire journey started. And like every other chef, you've also mentioned that your journey with cooking began at home as a child with your parents, and that I think that always deeply influences everyone who starts your own kitchen.
Yes.
Your parents cook, your mom cook. What was your first dish that you made for them, and your first memory from the kitchen?
Okay, I have so much to talk about this, but I'll keep it as crisp as I can. Firstly, you know what? So I actually have a degree in finance. I actually did chartered accountancy. But my love for food was always so strong that I gave that up and moved into this. As soon as I got like my chartered accountancy done, I was like, enough. Let's go back to what I love and my passion. So I grew up in a smaller city called Guwahati, which is in Assam. It's a lovely city. But while growing up, we didn't have too many avenues when it came to recreation or when it came to kind of exploring food. But me and my father, we always loved food. So we would binge watch, episodes on TV. We didn't have access to OTT that time, right? So it was everything was on TV. So we would binge watch so many episodes of Gordon Ramsay. What else? Like there was so much that time. But we didn't have the option that time to go out and try. Today, food is so easily accessible. Back then, it wasn't. And because we were in that part of the country, we used to end up going to a lot of tea gardens, and we used to go fishing, and we used to take small utensils from home, kind of axe down the tree, burn wood, like make fire, and kind of take fish and make it. And it literally started from there. And my dad and me were always very intrigued. And we're a proper Punjabi food fervent family, okay? So for us, it was like at lunch, we discuss what we're going to have for dinner. At dinner, we're going to discuss what we're going to have next day for breakfast. And my father would love cooking more. My mom's an amazing cook, but my father loved cooking more. So for us, like it was like how people have team building activities. For us, family building activities were like around food. And my dad would literally critique everything I make. And that's where it started. And yeah, I'm honestly very grateful for that, because that made me understand food as a science so much more.
Yeah. So I think this is what I've always, from all the chefs, it's either seeing their mom cook or some kind of, from your parents it comes. So glad to hear that story.
Parents, grandparents, someone you kind of share that love, and you start experiencing it yourself.
Yeah. And coming from a small town, that also has a lot of influence, because I think, especially probably when you started, now it's become a little more out there. But
now
when
everything with internet, everything it's accessible to everyone. Back then, that wasn't the case. I'll be really honest here. We used to wait for our summer holidays to go to Delhi or Dehradun, where my mom was from. It's like how nanny house kind of a situation. And we used to be so excited because for me personally, it was like, this is what I've seen on TV and I want to go there and I want to
Yeah.
go to these places. And I want to try out the food because I've seen it, but I need to try it out
Yeah.
now. And we didn't have
Yeah.
access to a lot of ingredients, but the plus size was like the plus point of all of this was that we were able to grow our own vegetables in the backyard and actually make
Oh
food
wow.
out of it. So yeah.
Wow. Now I think it's catching up, especially in the West world where you grow,
Yes.
where you eat what you grow.
Yeah.
But in Indian smaller cities, people have been doing this as
Yeah.
very naturally as a tradition.
Absolutely. And, this might be straying a little bit from the topic, but to be very honest, there's a reason why in anywhere in the world you go, every 100 kilometers, as the geography changes, the food also changes because food is according to the climate, the soil, and all of it, right? According to the basically the conditions in that particular area. And that's why local food becomes so important because that is actually suited to where you are at that point. As much as we love kind of, now importing food and kind of exporting, but that's where local food also is so important to explore.
Again, like because you said, and it is again off topic. These new trends of keto and vegan. Do you think they are like against locally sourced food? Because
Uh,
I mean, say almond milk, you're not growing it, right? You're sourcing it from elsewhere.
Honestly, you know what? You can make almond milk at home. Now, I am lactose intolerant. So if I will have normal milk, I will throw up. But for me, almond milk suits perfectly. And now this whole fad of gluten-free diet, right? It's so
Yeah,
important to
yeah.
understand that all of this comes from sensitivity or because you're allergic to something. But we just want to follow trends and we will do whatever I'll have what she's having. That looks nice, I'll do that. Without understanding that there is science and reasoning for everything. For example, intermittent fasting, right? And it's such a fad, like in the middle, it was like everyone's going to do that. But with someone with acidity issues, it's going to completely flare up. On the other hand, with
I try to do intermittent fasting as much, and I've been doing it for years.
yeah,
But I get what you're
and
saying. Yeah.
and even if you look at it, if you try and understand Jainism in a manner, you will see that that's
Yeah.
what they actually do, right? They
Yeah.
don't eat after sunset and they will have the first. So there's always science to everything, and what's applicable to you may not be applicable to me. But at times we just follow trends without going and studying and understanding why does this work and who does this work for.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm coming back
Yes,
to the
let's come
topic, otherwise I'll
back.
keep
Yeah.
bombarding you
No,
with
no,
my
no,
personal
please do.
questions. uh, but with I.I.M.U.N, for the past 12 years, we've done conferences in 35 countries.
Right.
And what we try to do when we pick these countries is we take countries where India is not very comprehensively present, like in
Right.
Japan or
I was in
Peru or
Japan
Peru.
last month. Okay, I'm obsessed with that place, but okay.
Yeah, it's an amazing.
I
I
know.
spent like around 15,
Oh,
20 days there, and
oh, amazing.
it was
Yeah, but
amazing.
I agree. Indian food's not easily available. Not at all. Forget that
Yeah,
vegetarian
like
food's not easily available.
I had to carry theplas because I'm a strict vegetarian. Even I don't
Oh,
even eat eggs,
egg. Oh
so
no. Okay.
it was a nightmare for me.
I can
But yeah.
please tell me.
But
Otherwise,
that's
I'll
my
go on.
next question.
Right.
Yeah, that you have been recognized as EU's food representative to India,
Mm-hmm.
and many
Thank you.
congratulations
Thank you
on
so
that.
much.
Uh, how do you think that Indian food puts the country on the map, and how is it changing the idea of India abroad?
Okay. If we go back into history, we would actually see that as a part of trade, a lot of food items were traded, right? Potatoes and tomatoes and chilies didn't even belong to India. These were traded and brought to India. A lot of spices, which are actually grown in India, were not available, and it was traded and gone outside, right? Now, as times are changing, instead of just the ingredients being traded, now if you will see, even the food cultures are getting traded. Now you will see a lot of fusion food. Even when you're traveling, you will see. In fact, After Italian, Chinese, and Japanese, Indian food is the fourth most common cuisine in the world. And Indian food is increasingly getting um, recognized. And also, to be honest, we can't even use the term Indian food because within India, there are so many cuisines, cultures, regions, micro cuisines, and there's just so much to it. Like, I was in London some time back and they had a Michelin star Indian takeout. Like, can you even imagine? And
Wow.
in New York, there was a restaurant which is basically into predominantly South Indian style cooking, and they were awarded a Michelin star in the Michelin Guide. So Indian food's actually becoming increasingly prevalent, and not to forget that Instagram or any other social media actually basically really helps, right? Because we consume so much
Yeah,
content, there's so much that we're
absolutely.
learning, right? There's so much
Yeah.
exchange of information also that's happening. Uh, in fact, there is this. I'm not this guy. His name I think is Jake Drine. Yes, he's wonderful. He's based out of London, if I'm not wrong, and he picks up a new state um, every week or something like that, and he basically comes up with local cuisines from that particular state, stuff that you and me, who are proper Indian recipes, would not even know about.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
just goes to show that how much Indian food has started to, it's always been appreciated, but it's time we move over butter chicken and chicken tikka masala, endless
Exactly.
code-swindle, and
Yeah.
there is more that there is to offer, right? But that's
Yeah.
also happening within India. If you'll actually see that even from India, a lot of local cuisines, you'll actually start seeing that also come out now. And there's so much we're also learning from the West, right? From so many different countries. So I think like spices used to be exchanged, now it's food and basically cultures, cuisines also being exchanged.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think on one of the episodes, I got schooled by a chef who's predominantly cooked South Indian. I was like, yeah, now South Indian cuisine is, we see
Hmm.
dosas and idlis and breakfast everywhere. And she was like, South Indian cuisine is so much more than
Yeah, there
that.
is,
Like,
yeah.
dosa idli is just tip of the iceberg and people don't
And
talk about it. So
and
it's
trust
so
me,
much to be discovered.
even as someone, even though I'm a chef, there's just so much you can never know enough. Like every hundred, like I said, every 100 kilometers, the geography changes and the food scene completely changes. And there's always science behind. Like if you'll see, why is it that every tropical country would have, like you'll see so many coconut trees and coconut water. There are reasons to everything, right? We love following things, but yeah, sometimes there's a little more awareness that's needed.
Yeah. And Chef, you spoke about social media, being a big push towards
Right.
putting us on the map, or just
For
making sure
everyone.
people are getting more
Yeah.
for everyone. And as most of our audience, 90% of our audience would be Gen Z people who basically live on the internet.
Yeah, I'm too old for
Um,
them, but yeah.
yeah. But you innovate and recreate recipes to make it not just simple but accessible to them. So,
Yes.
from their perspective, what do you think is some kind of food shift that you're seeing from a Gen Z
Uh,
perspective?
so you know what? Food earlier was something which our mothers used to idly make, and you would you would see that whenever the younger generation would want to learn, they would reach out to recipe books, right? Because that's how you educate yourself,
Correct.
or you see a TV show. Now,
Correct.
if you see, there's so many mediums, communication mediums that's being actually replaced with Instagram or social media. So now most of us don't end up opening the newspaper every day, but we are definitely putting our Instagram on, right? So that's where it's also being used as a platform to educate. Now, when it comes to me personally, what I tend to see and understand is that we all in today's day and age don't have too much time on us. We're trying to look for
Correct.
healthier alternatives, and we're trying to look for recipes or for things in a manner which can simplify our lives and not complicate it. So the more that how we can maximize our time and ingredients and everything, right? And that's where I feel with social media, you get that chance. There are chefs and content creators who focus on absolute traditional recipes. And then there's some who would pick a particular cuisine and talk about it, right? My focus always ends up being on, because I feel in today's day and age, what the audience, what the Gen Z, everyone's so busy that you're kind of looking at, hey, what what is something fancy that I can make out of these
Yeah.
ingredients and 20 minutes or 30 minutes that I have. Because no one really has that much time to go ahead and spend and kind of prep. Because let's really be honest, when I tried doing that, I was like, people were like, no, no, it's going to cost me so much to get ingredients. And I'd rather just Swiggy it, and it's going to be easier to do that than to actually
Yeah.
sit and take out 3 hours and make a dish. So I feel
Absolutely.
everyone also has their own niche, but I think the Gen Z is always looking for quick fixes and something new, and they want to try something fun and innovative.
And it should also be
Oh,
Instagrammable.
we eat with our eyes first, right? It's so important. It has
Yes.
to appeal to us first for us to kind of get. But that's true. That's how we get salivating. Also, all our senses work, right? We look at food,
Yeah.
and our senses actually, it's another sense, right? Sight, and that gets activated. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, especially as a patisserie chef, is it, getting the taste right and also making it look
Very, very
appealing? Is
important.
it a struggle? Is it a
So,
struggle, or do you think it comes naturally now that you've
uh,
been doing this for years?
it doesn't, it, as much as it does, in a manner, but another manner to always be creative and to have that creativity on top of your head. Because while you can make a cake, but to every time make another version of it look fancier, for that you need to kind of become an artist and kind of make sure that you're kind of making sure that it's creative enough for someone to like it enough, right? Because
Yeah.
even when we talk about patisserie, for example, uh, dessert is always at the end. The reason being, it's how you celebrate, it's how you rejoice. It's your birthdays, your anniversaries, a special occasion. So it also has to look good, right? So it's always important
Yeah.
that your creativity has to be at point. It doesn't end at just baking a cake. There's always more to it, and how do you make sure it looks appealing enough?
Yeah, and with Instagram, there are trends like I think of a year or so back, there was this you beat it with a hammer and
It was
something
called the
and it
pinata
oozes
cake.
out.
So I'll tell
Yeah.
you where this all of this starts. And lockdown, right? All of us are home now. How do you make anyone's special day or birthday anything special? You want to bring some kind of excitement, right? You want to bring some kind of no, something that gets your phone out and that you're trying to capture. Correct? You want to feel special in your own little way. And that's how these cakes make it very interesting. It gets that little bit of spotlight attention. It's also a fun activity because it moves from a cake to more of an experience that you're doing. And
I mean,
that's how, if you see a lot of Instagram famous foods are things where there is an experience that's happening, because visually you can't taste it. It's just how fancy and fun it's looking.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, to see
Yeah.
that cake not just as a cake but as a celebration and as an experience, and that is why
And
these trends
I
come.
mean, you know, the epicenter of everything always comes down to food. For example, it's a friend's birthday. What do you decide on? Let's go out to eat. Where should we book, right? Or if someone's unwell, it's like, hey, let me give you some nourishing food to have. Kind of
Absolutely.
always comes
I,
down to that. Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah, no, and because you're speaking about this, how, when you decided you wanted to enter the food industry,
Hanji.
what pivoted you to patisserie?
Uh, so as much as I enjoy cooking a lot, but I found patisserie very intriguing. Now, because there's a lot of science involved. You can't just put in flour and baking powder and baking soda and something will come out. There's a lot of precision, right? And that really intrigued me to kind of understand that how does this exactly work. And we've not even seen that so much, at least I didn't while growing up. There were very few patisseries out there. And every time I would travel, I was always very intrigued by the different kind of, boulangeries, patisseries that were there and the kind of products that they were offering. So that always intrigued me. And that's why I professionally, when it came to taking training, that's the route that I decided to take. And the little artist in me would get very happy kind of creating, that little creation. So yeah.
Yeah. With the little knowledge that I have,
Mhm.
when you're cooking versus when you're baking. When you're baking, if you mess up,
Yeah.
it messes up.
Yeah. Cooking, there's
There's no
some
coming
way
back.
to kind of
Yeah.
simulate, and cooking is more intuitive. With baking,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
less
Andaz se namak dal do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything is more intuitive, and how you can just kind of swap one ingredient for another. With baking, while you can do that, you need to also kind of understand the chemical composition, why certain things happen. And yeah, it's fun. It's a whole different space. So,
And how much is it different being professionally trained? I mean, I'm sure you must be in touch with people who are not
yes,
professionally trained but have gotten into baking.
yes.
What is the major difference that you see?
Okay, so for example, I studied in London, okay, and it I learned uh, techniques and basically the science behind it, which made it easier for me to make sure that I can replicate, or for me to actually develop and curate my own recipes. It gives you that knowledge. After that, what you do out of it is completely up to you. But there are some amazing bakers and amazing chefs out here who don't even have professional training. So while I feel that it's like uh, it's up to you at the end of the day, but yes, professionally being trained gives you a great kickstart, because there's all the knowledge put together for you, and then it's totally up to you on how you want to. At the end of the day, it's you who's going to make a difference, but that just makes it easier, right? Because you have all the knowledge and you have someone to guide you and help you. So
And as a chef who's been in this industry for so long, what are the gaps that you see that aspiring chefs should fill, or basically your advice to them, to any aspiring chef?
number one, cook from the soul. That's something that I always say, because they always say "maa ka pyar" or mother's love. It actually reflects. If you cook in a bad mood, trust me, it's not going to come out the way you'd like it to. So now, whatever you do, just do it from the heart. Another thing, I feel like focus more on techniques and lesser on recipes. And your intuition is very important. If you're seeing that something's not looking right, it's very important that you just don't follow things blindly. You need to understand that sometimes it you know you can't blindly follow a recipe. Just trust me, you can never do that. Even in baking, sometimes you need to tweak it, because even if you buy flour brand to brand, the where it's actually being sourced from, everything, the chemical composition of the product also ends up changing. So I think that's number two. And number three would be, um, being a chef honestly can be physically a little taxing. So make sure you kind of, um, I don't know how to put this right without it making. So when I left my finance job, I'm like, okay, good. Now this is great. Now I can be a chef and do what I love. And then you come to understand that your busiest seasons are during the festive seasons, right? Because that's when everyone's celebrating, and that's where you need more food around you. And I wasn't prepared for that. And I was like, wow, I left this to do this thinking this would be easier. And I was like, no. But if you love it, like, you're going to love the entire process completely. Because it's fun.
You thought you were going to get
Every day you come up with
Yeah.
something new, which is very exciting. And it's every day kind of putting up a piece of art and putting it out there.
Yeah, but it does mess with your happy celebrations because you're there, helping others celebrate better.
The initial few years, a little bit, yes. But I think after that, as another part of being a chef eventually also becomes that a lot of chefs then get into entrepreneurship, right? Where they build their own team, where they come up with their own restaurants or their own patisseries. And that happens, the first few years is always very important for you to build that up and for you to experience
Yes.
it yourself. Only then will you be able to train someone under you accordingly. But yeah, I still
And were
would
there
be
moments?
semi.
Sorry. No, I think were there moments when you left like a secure finance career in order to? Did you
Uh,
in retrospect, would you
not
regret?
Not at all. I keep saying this, that except for the administrative part of my work, I absolutely love the kitchen. I love being in the kitchen. That's my space that allows me to creatively express myself. And it's just it's fun and it's so exciting to learn about, this food as a topic. It's never ending, right? You feel like you know enough, you never know enough. Even if, for example, you look at dosa, you'll move from sambar, basic things, right? Which we just put it together and say, yes, South Indian khana. But if you start going from one state to another, you'll see that their version of dosa, chutney, sambar is also different. So there's so much to learn. And the more you keep learning, it just doesn't end. So I
Yeah.
personally wouldn't go back ever. I wouldn't choose that. I'm very, very, very happy with my decision.
Yeah, I mean, and that shows from the passion that is oozing out of your answers. Uh, but chef, at the end, we usually do like a quick rapid fire,
Okay.
where I tell you a few words and you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first word is kitchen.
My creative space.
Instagram.
Platform. Yeah, it's a platform you can
Favorite
just
cuisine.
showcase yourself. Favorite cuisine is gonna be at the moment Japanese. At the moment, it'll change.
Sushi.
It'll keep
Yeah.
changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dal
Comfort food.
khichdi.
Indian cuisine.
Vast and so rich.
Favorite mithai.
Kalakand.
India.
India, it's home. Like it's love. It's home. Yeah.
And I.I.M.U.N, this platform.
Um, Young and very, very, very vibrant and so many ideas.
Thank you. Thank you, Chef. It's been such a pleasure and